Hi friends! So today we're going to be looking at practicing writing a summary. So specifically we're going to be looking at writing a nonfiction summary. Now writing a summary can be a little tricky because you have to take a lot of information and you have to turn it into just a few sentences of what your article kind of was mostly about. That's where you're including your key details, the most important details that you need to tell somebody, and you're just shortening it. So we're going to do that with an informational text called Frogs at Risk. Now, I know you probably read this before you're watching this video, but we're just going to read it really quickly because it's really short, and that's the way it'll kind of help me make my summary, which will help you see an example of it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and read Frogs at Risk. It says, South America's frog populations are on the decline. That spells trouble for the environment. The mountains and thick forests of Ecuador in South America are home to 417 types of frogs and toads. Tiny red-eyed tree frogs hide inside flowers. Bumpy-skinned toads use their sticky tongues to catch mosquitoes and other prey. Colorful poison dart frogs rest on tree branches. These brightly colored frogs are packed with poison, which protects them from their enemies. Now, many species or types of frogs and toads in Ecuador are at risk of dying out. According to a recent report by the group Nature Serve, 8 frogs have become extinct or died out in North and South America in the last 100 years. It's the same magnitude event as the extinction of the dinosaurs, says scientist Luis Coloma. Okay. So now we learned a little bit about our topic. Let's go ahead and take what we know and turn it into a summary. So, like I said, summary is a little tricky, but hopefully this guided template will kind of help you break things down and see it's not as hard as you think. Okay, so our topic should be 1 to 2 words only. And that topic is just, what are you learning about? What is the main topic? What is the main thing? It could be a person, it could be an animal, it could be a place. What is the main thing you are learning about? And ours is frogs. So my topic is frogs. Okay? Your main idea is 1 sentence of what the passage is mostly about. So with main idea, here's a kind of a cool trick. A lot of time your main idea, you can find it in like the first sentence and even sometimes in the last sentence, because usually if there's like an article, that author is going to close up their article with one last statement about what the main idea of what they're teaching you is. So like I said, a cool trick with main idea is to look at the very first sentence or maybe even the last sentence. But your main idea is what your passage is mostly about. So we know that our topic is frogs, but what we read a lot about was how frogs are kind of becoming extinct and they're dying out. So let's look at our first sentence right here and see if there's something we could write. South America's frog populations are on the decline. So decline means like decreasing, going down. So that means that the frog populations are going down. That means they're dying out. That spells trouble for the environment. So a good main idea that I think could be this first sentence right here. South America's frog populations are on the decline. That's basically the main topic we talked about in this whole article, was how all the frog populations are dying out. So that's a great main idea, and we'll just copy that. South America's frog populations are on the decline. Now, you might not always be able to find your main idea in the first sentence or the last one, but just think to yourself, what was the main thing that I kept, that we were talking about? A lot of times you'll see words that are repeated a lot, and like down here we saw like dying out and died out being repeated a lot. So even if we weren't to copy this first sentence, another good main idea would be maybe South America's frogs are dying out, or South America's frogs are becoming extinct, because that was a big part of what we read about. We weren't really reading about the different kinds of frogs. we were reading about how we're getting worried because they're all becoming extinct. Now, like we did in the previous lesson, we're going to look for key details, important details, ones that help us learn about South America's frog populations that are on the decline. We need to find the information that helps us learn about frogs becoming extinct, because that's our main idea. We talked about that a lot of frogs are dying out, so we need to find the important details that help us with that. So let's go back here, and we're going to do the same strategy. We're going to highlight and cross off. So we have the mountains and thick forests of Ecuador in South America are home to 417 types of frogs and toads. That is very important. That is a key detail because it tells us how many frogs live in Ecuador. If we're talking about how frogs are declining and dying out, we need to know, first of all, how many frogs actually live there and why are we so worried that they're dying out? Well, a lot of frogs live there. And if they keep dying out, we're not going to have any frogs. Tiny red-eyed tree frogs hide inside flowers. That's not super important. That just describes one type of frog that lives there. Bumpy-skinned toads use their sticky tongues to catch mosquitoes and other prey. That's just another interesting detail. It just describes one type of frog. It's not really talking about all the frogs that are going extinct. Colorful poison dart frogs rest on tree branches. Once again, that's just an interesting detail. That's not a key detail. That's just telling us about another frog that lives there. It doesn't talk about how frogs are going extinct. These brightly colored frogs are packed with poison, which protects them from their enemies. Once again, not super important. Doesn't really connect with the main idea of how frogs are declining. That just kind of describe the different types of frogs that live there. So let's keep going. Now, many species or types of frogs and toads in Ecuador are at risk of dying out. Ooh, at risk of dying out, that talks about their population that's declining. And look, we even see a bolded word. That means that it's probably important for us to know. It's probably a key detail. So I'm going to highlight that. And then it says, according to a recent report by the group Nature Serve, 8 frogs have become extinct or died out in North and South America in the last 100 years. Once again, we see the word extinct or died out. That connects with frogs' populations declining. So let's go ahead and highlight that one. That's a key detail. It connects to our main idea. Your details, your key details when writing a summary should connect back with your main idea. I don't need to know about the different kind of frogs that live there. I need to know information about frogs that are going extinct. And the last one says, it's just a quote, it's the same magnitude event as the extinction of the dinosaurs, says scientist Luis Coloma. That's just an extra detail that someone had said that they put in this article. So not important, just kind of interesting. So now, let's see what key details we found and put them in here. So the first one was the mountains and thick forests of Ecuador and South America are home to 417 types of frogs and toads. That's a key detail. So I can copy it, but I like to put it in my own words because then this is a good way. It's kind of a good way to shorten it. So like where it says the mountains and thick forests of Ecuador, I don't need to include the mountains and thick forests. That's just kind of describing what Ecuador is like. But it is important for me to say that 417 types of frogs and toads live in South America, or live in Ecuador in South America. So I'm going to say there are 417 types of frogs and toads living in Ecuador and South America. Like I said, I'm trying to kind of make these my own words. I don't want to copy everything word to word because some of your sentences might be super long. So take out things that don't matter. Like saying the mountains and thick forests, that doesn't matter. That just describes Ecuador. But it's important to tell people how many frogs live there and where. They live in Ecuador and South America. Okay. Now, let's look at our next key detail down here. We said, now many species or types of frogs and toads in Ecuador are at risk of dying out. So that's super important. I need to make that in key detail number 2. So I need to also, like I said, make these my own words. So I'm thinking of what I could take out. Well, I could take out Ecuador because we already talked about it's in Ecuador, and we talked up here about South America. We know that's our main focus is in Ecuador and South America. So we can kind of take that detail out. There we go. So I can say many species of frogs and toads are at risk of dying out. Because I already talked about Ecuador in here. So let me just add this in. Many species of frogs and toads are at risk of dying out. Okay, and now my last key detail. What else did I find? Let's see. According to a recent report by the group NatureServe, 8 frogs have become extinct or died out in North and South America in the last 100 years. Very important to know because it talks about frogs that are dying out and the extinction. But let's look at what we could get rid of. We don't really need to say that according to a recent report by the group of NatureServe. That was a key detail at the time, but when we're using our own words, I think what's most important is right here, where it says 8 frogs have become extinct or died out in North and South America in the last 100 years. So we'll add that in here. We'll say 8 frogs have become extinct, and we know what extinct means in, why don't I need that comma there? In North and South America in the last 100 years. Okay, so now I've done everything. My topic is frogs. My main idea is South America's frog populations are on the decline. It's telling you that they're dying out. I found 3 important details. Now all I have to do is I need to take this information, put it all together, and write the summary of the passage. So all I can really kind of do is just copy what I did. I could start here with my main idea. South America's frog populations are on the decline. That's my main idea. Now I can copy my first key detail. I'm going to copy this one. There are 417 types of frogs and toads living in Ecuador and South America, period. And then I can just copy my next key detail and my third key detail, and boom, that is your summary. It sums up everything that we just read. It kept it very important. It kept it focused on the main idea of frogs going extinct. And we didn't have to put any of this extra stuff in here. We just wrote a shortened version of what our topic was and what the article was about. And you're going to practice that today.